Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Weekly Guns. This is brought to you by Patriot Patch Company and Primary Arms. This show offers commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. I'm your host, Matt Larosiere, and I'm here with my co-host, Benjamin Allread. Ben, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm a fatter, better looking version than Sean.
So you have a different show on here. I believe it is called the Road Course Racing and Autocross podcast. Mostly focused on Miatas.
No. We're far from the Miata world. Well, actually, not really. It depends on the time of year. If you're gambling, Gambler 500 guys will know. I'm one of the hosts of the Off-Road podcast and also one of the editors here on the FRN. I help take care of a couple shows here on the network, like This Week in Guns, and Medical Gear Outfitters, and the Long Range Addicts.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on here. I see your background. Is that a Subaru?
That'd be a Toyota 4Runner in a ditch.
Toyota 4Runner. Ooh.
Yeah.
Can I see your vape?
No vape.
Oh.
Are you
sure?
Not on the air.
Well, I'm just giving you some crap. Off-roading is something I always kind of wanted to get into, but you can start setting money on fire extremely quickly. I did have a four-wheel drive GMC Canyon that was just tremendously fun because it weighed nothing because most of it was rusted out, and I never got it stuck. So there were some close calls, but I did have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, my wife complains about my hobbies all being expensive. And like my latest hobby is 3D printing, and it's really not expensive compared to guns or off-road rigs, but it's time consuming. And she complains now that I sit and stand in front of my printer. I'm like, I gotta make sure nothing goes wrong.
Yeah, it's almost impossible not to stare at it, especially for the first few minutes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've been printing for years, and I still, when I turn on the printer, I kind of just sit there sniffing the fumes and seeing what's going to happen. But the thing about 3D printing, and when I got into it, we didn't have so many great low-cost options like we have now. I had actually had a Raise 3D, and I used it for years. When finally my buddies are like, hey man, just get an Ender. And I got an Ender 5, which was like a couple $100. And oh my God, did it blow the doors off of my stupid Raise 3D. And I've been using my Ender 5 primarily ever since then.
Yeah, I got an Ender 3 V2, and okay. I was kind of amazed at how good it was out of the box. I mean, I don't know, like a Glock or a car of any sort. It's like, all right, let's start slapping some modifications on it and make it even better. But that's kind of what you do, right?
I have not done any of that. I got the 5 Pro, and it was just perfect out of the box. And some people, have more problems and mess with the hot end and stuff like that. But I've been using it for over a year now, and it's dead silent. And my first printer was one of those Monoprice Maker Select Minis, and that thing would just scream all night.
Oh yeah, my Ender screams sometimes, and I'm just like, shut up.
Yeah, but the Ender 5 Pro is dead silent.
Oh, that might have to be my next printer then.
Well, yeah. Well, if you guys are watching on YouTube, I'll put an affiliate link so that you can feed me. Thank you. Anyway, let's talk about a friend of ours. Ooh. Do you have friends?
I've got friends sometimes. They make fun of me.
Well, you know who'll never make fun of you?
Would it be Primary Arms?
Primary Arms. They've got the holiday hangover sale. Let's see what's going on here.
Lots of swag in there. I like it.
That's a lot of hangover swag. I'm not really sure what the connection is there. We got decent mags, OK Industries bags, $20 for a 2-pack in tactical Instagram Desert Cam. We've got a tactical barbecue apron in black. There's a lot of cool stuff. Last episode, we were looking at the sale on Primary Arms, and Oh, see, look, this one's got every different role you could possibly have with a barbecue apron: chef, dad, and mom. And it's got Molly on
Gotta have the Molly, right?
it. But yeah, they had a great sale on that Wasser M in 9 millimeter, and Sean and I were joking about it. And right after the show, I bought it.
Of course you did, right?
I did, and I'm really stoked about it. It hasn't come in yet, but let's see if they've still got any good deals on AKs. Yep, they've still got it there.
That is a
I
really
had
good deal.
decided, it, yeah, and I had decided that you know what, it, the price of 9 millimeter has gotten down below 7.62 by 39, and this is a full size AK, so you can actually get a little work in, get a little practice in. I think it even has and it's got an optics rail too, so you can put I can put my worthless Russian side mount optics on it, and get disappointment at a lower price per round.
There you go.
So guys, we've got a code. Of course, it is code FRN, Foxtrot Romeo November. And if you buy a optic from Primary Arms, you will receive a free mount. So that is awesome. And as usual, you can check frn.deals/PA to see whatever the latest stuff we have going on with Primary Arms is. So speaking of ammo prices, right? I'm gonna skip into this story first. There's always uses for Redditors, right?
Always, they find the weirdest stuff and they just zero in on it.
Yes, and I feel like it's the most fascinating hive mind of the time monopoly that you can ever see, and it can be very useful. So there's one user on Reddit who just every now and again he'll compile all of the ammo prices from AmmoSeek data, and he's built a trend line, right? And we can see here, if we look at his graph, this might be some good news. Everything has kind of stagnated since after July of 2021.
Yeah, it hasn't quite gone all the way down looking at it, but
Right.
it's at least not peaked up there at 60 cents per round for a 9 millimeter.
Well, the one that is really devastating is our little friend 380, right? Uh, all of us have guns in 380. I'm sure you'd have at least one, right?
Yep, I've got a Glock 42.
And you want to shoot them sometimes. And
Not right now.
yeah, for a while I've been like, oh, I guess I can't shoot that. I guess I can't shoot my PPK or whatever. But look back here, May of 20, it was 23 cents a round. March, like, the 380 story is the nuttiest one here, in my opinion. It has the highest peak down back to a fairly modest low. It was 94 cents a round at the cheapest price between March and May of 2021. And now it is down to about 46 cents. And we see a fairly straight trend line going on there. So I do wonder what is behind this. What is this one? Oh, and 22LR, of course, the old, that graph may look compressed, but it's actually not, seeing as we've gone from 4 cents to now hovering around 10 cents, which is
Double.
it's really problematic.
Yeah.
It's really annoying. 22LR is supposed to be inconceivably cheaper than 9 millimeter, and it is just too close for comfort now at this point.
Well, that you think about it, what shooting a 1022, 1 meg is $1.
Right? That's nuts. I remember going into Walmart and getting the accursed Remington Gold Bullet brick for $15, and that was 550 rounds, and that was like 2 little range trips of fun.
Yeah.
The last time I saw Remington Gold sitting on the shelf was at a some stupid outdoor store, and it was $50.
Oh.
And it's just like blown away. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that it's the panic settling down? Do you think that maybe production is catching up? What do you think?
I think it's a mixture of both. Panic is coming down, but of course there's going to be the the ammo zombies, the guys that show up at I guess Walmart isn't really an option anymore for that,
For
but
22.
yeah, for your 9 mil and all that, those guys that are, oh, there's a shortage, I need to buy more.
Yeah.
But I think
they're already sitting on 80,000 rounds.
yeah, their bank accounts are finally getting a little tapped out, and we did get a huge influx of new gun owners at the beginning of COVID, and I think they've started to get some ammo, and so I think once people start getting out more again, we're going to see another little surge, but it might balance out as some of those either don't train or just give it up, and it'll be more of Grandpa's 22s in the attics to me.
Do you reckon people aren't shooting as much right now?
A lot of the people that reached out to me and went out and got guns aren't shooting as much. I haven't been training as much because it's, I haven't wanted to replenish, so I haven't wanted to go shoot. But like now I'm building a Glock 19. It's like I'm gonna have to tap into that storage, and then my son's talking about building a 22 with me. I'm like, now I'm gonna have to spend more money.
So wait, how do you feel about 22s? Because I think you might have the right opinion as compared to our usual friend Sean Heron. What's your opinion of 22?
I think it's a great basis for training kids and getting started, and it's great for building fundamentals
and murdering iguanas.
Yeah, and I mean, what is it? Poachers use them all the time for deer and stuff. So it's,
really,
yeah, like they're what was that show? Alaska State Troopers. They caught like a bunch of guys using 22s to get deers. They were just driving and shooting out the car off the road and all that. And a lot of those guys had 22s. It still kills. It's just not ethical. So
right. Now, I adore 22. I shoot a lot of 22, and partly because I can afford to get a lot of trigger time.
Yeah.
At the range. I have a CMMG bolt for my AR, and I've even got one of those Croatian AK 22 bolts. And they are just, it really changes things when you can sit there and really get trigger time behind your platform.
Yeah, and if you have a malfunction, which I mean is somewhat common with 22, that's training in on its own, right? That's how you deal with, how do you deal with your manufacturing tap rack pull, So.
Yeah, except with 22 it's tap rack shake.
Yeah, tap rack shake, there you go.
Yeah, no, but I adore 22. I've and ever since me and Sean had this big thing on here where he was like, 22 is worthless, you can't, it's completely useless. We were trying to shoot prairie dogs at 300 yards and it wasn't doing a damn thing.
Well, you're trying to shoot at 300 yards at prairie dogs. I wouldn't say go more than 150 yards with a 22 for something like that.
Yeah, 150 yards, you can really ding stuff with a 22, no problem. Like one time I was with Othias, and granted, I did have a Savage World War II training rifle, which has a barrel that's like an inch and a half thick.
Oh, there you go. Nice and heavy.
Yeah, and it doesn't make it. It is almost like it's suppressed when you pull the trigger. The thing just doesn't vibrate at all. But I was shooting those little reactive target pucks that are like an inch and a half at over 100 yards, no problem. It's great for that, but it's not for killing. If you're going to use it for hunting, it's not for killing anything that's smart or far away.
Yeah.
In Florida, we have a ton of iguanas. They're a huge problem. Why would you waste money on anything more than 22 to, slaughter iguanas? It doesn't make any sense. And there's also so many. I'm sorry, I have to. I finally have somebody who's receptive, right? There's so many fascinating guns that you can buy and collect in 22 LR and not spend anything.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of stuff out there in 22. And like the fun thing is, it's like you can get like the cowboy style lever action in a 22. It's like, what? That's cool. I like that. And it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. I just bought two kind of silly 22s. One was a Stevens gill gun. They call it the Click Clack. And it's the funniest thing because it's a semi-auto. You pull the trigger
and the trigger holds the bolt back. And when you're ready to shoot again, you let go of the trigger and it loads the next round.
It's like a binary trigger almost. It sounds like.
So when you pull it fires and when you release it loads. So it's kind of like one of those semi-automatic guns that they had in Europe.
Oh, okay.
And it was $100. And then I found this. I was just looking through Gunbroker, and there was $100.
Man, that's that. Do you remember when you could get a Mosin Nagant for $100?
I remember buying one on Black Friday for $69. That was my first Mosin, and the moment they hit $250, I got rid of it.
Yeah,
and I think they're now at like $400, which is ridiculous.
Are they really?
Yeah, well, depending, right? But I routinely see round receiver, bog standard moist nuggets trading for $400. It's ridiculous.
Man,
but the other 22 I found, I was looking at Gunbroker and I see it's a Walther Fry pistol. And the gun has neon tubes and a big electrical switch on it. I'm like, what the heck is that? And I do some research. It uses a 9-volt battery to charge up this big solenoid with a firing pin tip on it. And it's a single shot competition pistol, but you put in a 22, you close the breech, it's a falling block, and then it sounds like when you turn on a PVS 14, you get that this gun, you close the breech, it goes and then once the solenoid's charged, a neon tube lights up and you put it out. And it doesn't really have a trigger. It's got a little metal bar and you touch it. If you even think about that trigger, it just goes off.
That sounds like fun to play with.
It was $400.
That just sounds like a fun gun right there.
Yeah. So 22's the best. I don't care what anybody says. 22's the best. So anyway, do you have any really fun 22s?
No, just a sentimental one. I built a 1022 with my now 9-year-old when he was 5. Yeah? He was really into guns, and I helped him build it up. And then I went shooting with a bunch of coworkers from Rainier Arms when I was working there, and he shot a suppressed 300 Blackout, and totally forgot about that 22 we built. So I'll wait till he gets interested in the 22 again. And then...
Oh man, that's it. My first gun ever was a 1022.
That's got to be like everyone's. It's that, or it's like if you've passed that.
Or Marlin 60.
Yeah, Marlin 60, or you've passed that age and it's now moved on to what was it? That cricket? Was it the cricket?
Oh my god, but that's dreadful.
It is dreadful, but that's been like the one I see all my friends buy for their kids when they're 2.
It's $75.
That's why they're buying it for their kids. Look, honey, I can justify this.
Yeah. Well, I was at a gun show and there was a guy with just a table of 22s. Like actually he had one table and there was like 3 layers. And I walk up to him and first thing I'm like, oh, that's a click clack. My friend wants one too because they're so nonsense BS. So my friend buys the click clack, $150. And the guy's telling me, yeah, this lady just came up and bought like all of my single shots. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, it was an old Asian lady and she just bought all of them. And I was like, why? And then I'm like, oh, Christmas is in 2 weeks. Oh. And then I'm like, my girlfriend's little sister wants to get into shooting. Hey, that's a Marlin Model 60. I'll give you $125 for it. Okay. And that was, nice. I was like, bam, best Christmas present possible,
Yeah, especially from someone that you'd expect it from, right? It's like the gun guy. Yep, you're getting a gun for Christmas, kid.
Only people I really like get guns.
Well, there you go. Otherwise, they get coal, right?
Otherwise, they get ignored on the holiday.
There you go.
But anyway, all right. Enough of me, just waxing poetic over 22. Let's talk about something much more heart rate inducing. I was trying to lower your guys' blood pressure. I hope it's down nice and low. We're going to talk about something that you guys have been asking for me to talk about for a while. And this is, hey, Matt, what's going on with the California abortion gun law?
Oh, my goodness.
And this is something I actually just refuse to look into for a while because those that like series of words, right? California doing an abortion gun law, it was too much for me. Um, so I looked into it, and of course, it's not exactly what people are communicating it is. This is just another case of we've got a article here from the Los Angeles Times saying California lawmakers unveil plan to hold gun makers liable for shootings. Newsom is saying that he's going to test out Texas's unproven, you know, uh, system of law that they've got going on for the abortion clinics. For those of you who don't know, and I'm not going to get into any kind of abortion debate on the show. So if you guys are expecting that or getting ready to get offended, I'm not going to. However, the Texas abortion law, what it does is it lets private individuals bring suits against clinics that they have evidence are doing abortions after, this certain period of time. I don't know if it's 6 weeks or 6 months. Uh, Either way, it doesn't matter. And Newsom is saying this is wild and unproven and unprecedented, except for the fact that it's not. It is actually very common for a state legislature to enlist private attorneys to act as the enforcement arm for a particular law. And the reason is it's going to be impossible for the state, or virtually impossible without an incredible expenditure of money for the state to go around, policing this. However, if private lawyers, see, there's a couple things. One, the private lawyers aren't getting tax money to do this. Two, they have to make a cost benefit calculation as to how good the claim against this business is. And then three, right, they will only act in theory upon those people that they are sure they can get a recovery from. So in Florida, this is how we enforce anti-telephone spam laws, right? You're not supposed to text people without their consent in Florida. Obviously, it would cost an incredible amount of money for, the state to be figuring out who's texting who and then bringing enforcement actions against all those people. It's very easy for the state to say, hey, private lawyers, you get $500 a text message for everyone you find, right?
There you go.
It's like, oh, that's neat. So, no, this is not new. It's an interesting way of enforcing the law, but it is a very old one, and it's something that I kind of like when it's used in certain circumstances. But the thing is that California is wanting to do now is give private people the ability to sue irresponsible, reckless, or negligent gun manufacturers, importers, and dealers. It's not
Yeah, it's a hot
the
mess
same
is
thing.
what it is.
Like, so in the Florida law I'm talking about, it's not like negligent text messages, right, aren't something we get to sue for. It has to be willful, right? You have to actually be able to prove that this company was doing this on purpose and acting under this, moral or this manufactured moral high ground. Gavin Newsom is arguing that what they're doing. So I guess it could be one of two things. It could either be that he's arguing what they're doing is a strike back at this Texas policy that he doesn't agree with, or it could be him admitting, right, like trying to admit that what he's doing is unorthodox and unprecedented in the degree of extremeness that he's doing it by comparing it to something that's similarly, controversial. Sorry for going off on a thing about that, but yeah, what's your take on this, Ben?
You kind of hit it there with unorthodox. It kind of sounds like a desperate swipe at gun rights. It's like if we can sue car dealers, we can sue lawyers for malpractice. So we should be able to sue gun makers because someone else used a gun in a wrong way. It's like they're talking about targeting assault weapons and ghost gun distributors.
Right.
It's like yeah, but it's not the gun that does the shooting. I can leave my gun on my front porch. It's not going to shoot anybody, right?
I mean, unless it's like a Taurus or something.
Or what is it, Sig P320 before they fixed it? Just throw it
Yeah.
and it'll shoot, right?
The other frustrating thing here is that they redefine terms that are terms of art, terms that have meanings that are hundreds of years old, so like public nuisance. Um, they're trying to do that in order to make it seem more legitimate when you're talking about this type of laws. Like, no, well, these guys are engaged in public nuisance. And so if you know anything about the law, you'll immediately assume it's a common law public nuisance, which is something that has been actionable since, the 1600s, but it's not. It's the state defining a new category of public nuisance and then just bastardizing the term so that they can seem more reasonable when they talk about this policy. And this is the reason we that we got the various protections under the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. Make no mistake, the legislature is not a big friend of gun industry, but I think they can see when something is so preposterous that it threatens to nuke an entire market segment in this country. But you want to know what my favorite part about these is? Of the five most like purchased handguns generally, only two are American. And so I don't know if these people really think that they're going to be able to end gun violence by bankrupting Smith and Wesson and Keltec. Uh, you know, the most of the companies, like kind of probably the simple majority of handguns and commonly used firearms out there are made in Europe. Uh, Certainly, most Glocks are from Austria. I don't think that what they're doing here is going to have a tremendous impact on the ability of Germans, Austrians, Brazilians, and Croatians and all the other countries that a lot of our new guns come from will do in manufacturing new guns to sell to U.S. distributors. If one goes down, well, the next person will be happy to pick up that contract for that region. I think.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing is because they touched on like ghost gun manufacturers. So what is that? Parts makers. So are they going to target machine shops? Are they going to target parts distributors for? It's like, hey, I'm going to sue O'Reilly's because this part made by Dorman broke. It's like my headlight went out. I'm suing you, and
Right.
you, and you, and you. No, it don't work like that. So good luck.
What's funny is that you've just described the way products liability theory has devolved in the United States, but unfortunately, it is a little closer to that than it should be. However, there are defenses for those people who just handed over a product. But some of these same politicians in California were pushing for laws that would say it doesn't matter. Even if you never open the box, you should still be fully liable if the Dorman product fails.
So
And that's just doesn't make sense.
is this going to open up a new your gun has to be labeled this gun may magically kill people in the state of California?
Like maybe they should just say not for use in California and just have it be done with.
There you go. That fixes it. Then, it's we don't have to worry. Though that's a huge sector of the gun industry is sales in California.
Yep, yep. Well, so next up, tell me something. If you were going to rob a gun store, how would you get in? Because they usually got bars and locks and all that kind of stuff. What do you think you would do?
You know, I'm instead of being a Florida man, I might go for becoming Montana man.
So let's see this Montana man here. 1 second. A Montana man uses an excavator to tear down a wall in a Montana gun store heist.
I've seen this movie. It's called Tread, right?
Something like that. But yeah, 46-year-old Mr. Billings of Montana, he pled guilty on Wednesday to theft from a FFL, the U.S. Attorney's Office for Montana said in a news release. And, you'd think that if you're going to go through that kind of trouble, you'd be getting some cool stuff. Like, I'd imagine that this place just got in a shipment of SP5s or something. But no, he stole an excavator from a nearby construction site, which, by the way, guys, the keys are usually under the seat. I don't know why they do that. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I don't know what's with that. It's like it's so easy to steal like a Humvee or an LMTV.
Oh, well, yeah, those don't even have keys.
Yep.
But I have a tractor, and I keep the keys on my truck key ring just because I do not want to hear about my front end loader, right, going and doing something nefarious. But so he steals this tractor or this excavator, breaks down the wall, and steals 5 handguns and 1 antique rifle.
What was it? Was it like a 4570 or something? Probably doesn't even say.
Well, it's News Observer, so I'm sure it says like, there's no detail, and I'm sure if they tried, they would say AK-15 or something. Not well knowing that is a gun, and a very good gun.
Yeah.
The AK-15. But the investigators learned that the man had been in the store before the theft and that he had behaved oddly.
So he's probably told, no, we're not going to sell you a gun, but you can look around.
But of course, when you find these people, the way to pin them is to find the guns, right? So naturally, you'd think that this guy, maybe using the aid of his newly acquired excavator, buried the gun somewhere, right?
That'd be smart.
No, they found him in his garage.
Why would you do that?
He is facing 10 years in prison and $250,000 in fines. And something tells me a man who is stealing handguns is not going to be able to cough that up.
No.
Welcome to debt slavery, brother. Next up, there's a interesting new gun coming out on the market. I've seen a lot of soy eaters and Reddit people very excited. So tell me, Ben, what do you carry right now?
Glock 42 if I'm looking for something nice and small concealed, or Glock 17
Okay.
if I just don't care.
Yeah, I carry a 43X, so I'm with you. But what if we could make it heavier and put a big hammer on it?
Aren't hammer fired like grandpa guns now?
Right, but you want that, right?
No.
No, yes, you do. You want it.
Oh,
right?
They're telling me I want it? Okay.
I'm pretty sure you want it, because if it wouldn't make any sense otherwise why Smith & Wesson is coming out with this CSX 10-round, so it's a squiggle stack, it's a very narrow gun, single action only, hammer fired, all metal micro gun. I'm not gonna lie, I really hate it.
It looks okay, but I mean, like, this would have been a cool gun 10, 15 years ago. It's like
yeah, like when the when the SIG versions of this exact same thing came out.
Yeah.
And everybody carried them for 6 months and then went, this hammer thing sucks.
Yeah, they're like, this hammer thing sucks. Let's go to a striker fired pistol, like,
right.
A little more reliability.
I like hammer fired guns, but like my other carry gun is a PPK. But the thing about the PPK is I can carry it with the hammer down and still have the gun be usable, right? Yeah. It's got a double single trigger. I have never understood people who carry single action only hammer fired guns. I just don't get it.
It's I've never been a fan of single action. I get its idea. I really get the place for it, but Not my thing, which probably explains why it's got a manual safety. Another thing that I don't like.
Yeah, it's for the same people who get freaked out that, oh, that Glock or that modern Walther, it ain't got no safety.
You ain't got
Don't
no
worry, homie.
safety, and you're carrying it aimed at your nuts.
It's gonna blow your peener off. Oh yeah, 3.1 inch barrel, 0.95 inches wide, pretty thin, pretty thin. Ambidextrous manual thumb safety and enhanced grip texture with two interchangeable back straps. I'm sure one slightly too large and one slightly too small.
So it's got a grip zone.
You gotta get your face on that grip zone. Yeah, 12 and 10 round magazine capacity. I don't know why people are freaking out about this. I think it's kind of stupid, but you know, if you're a guy who really loved his SIG, what did you call those? The 938s or something like that?
See, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was a 938.
Yeah. If you loved that, I think maybe you'll love this. But then again, I don't really understand you. So moving along, we have some words from a Pennsylvania journalism lizard person. Listen, Ben, do you ever take pictures with your guns?
Not very often.
No, but when you do, have you ever posed?
Oh yeah, that's the only way is you pose with it when you've got it. You're not just willy nilly with it, right?
Yeah, you will. You gotta stop, all right?
What?
According to the Pennsylvania journalism lizard, posting in the Pennsylvania Capital Star, it makes you look weak. This article I had to include. It's by Quentin Young. It is the most obnoxiously verbose piece of word salad.
They had a thesaurus out for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Gotta say it with a list.
He's drawing a parallel here to from mass shootings to societal acceptance of guns.
So toxic.
Yeah.
He just hates on everyone in this. It's like this Representative Lauren Boebert, the Christmas themed photo with her and her four boys, who are brandishing assault weapons.
Yeah, they're brandishing MP22s.
Yeah, all I see is some kids that just got some new guns for Christmas, and they're excited about it. Especially the little one.
Yeah.
You see the smile on his face, and look at that finger discipline on all of those kids. I'd be one proud mom right there.
Damn.
Actually, I guess it'd be dad because
No, you could be the mom.
I can be the mom.
It's current year, dude.
All right, I'd be a hot mom right there.
Let's see. There's, I don't know. Yeah, many conservatives suffer, okay, from a compulsion to be photographed shooting, brandishing, or fondling firearms. It's loony, but it also contributes in ways that don't get enough attention to the epidemic of gun violence in America. When I read that, I had to scroll back up and make sure this wasn't written by Jack Thompson, right? Like, I thought the next thing was going to be that the Sega CD has to be banned. But no, he goes on to talk about mass shootings, talk about people that were killed in heinous acts. And then he says, in a healthy society, such a heinous act of violence would be extraordinary. But our society is sick, and such violence is routine. Which, of course, is why, by his own admission, there are only 20,000 incidences of person-on-person firearm violence, most of which are attributed to due to organized crime. In a country of 400 million, I find it odd to consider such numbers to be an epidemic, and especially given I'd written a research paper on this a year or so back. You know what the chances of an American to be killed in a mass shooting in every given year.
Less than 1%.
A lot less than 1%. 1% would be 1 in 100. It's about 1 in 11.6 million, and that's for every year.
That those I like those odds of not
They're pretty
having to
good.
deal with that. You know,
Yeah.
obviously, I like the odds of being able to arm myself to protect myself against any incursion like that. But yeah, I like those odds.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, here's some of his word salad talking about Representative Boebert, which I have no particular feelings about her one way or the other. Uh, I'm looking at the sentence and I'm having a hard time reading it because it's just so pretentious. I feel like you have to sniff a whole bottle of your own fart before you could write this. But Boebert might take Second Amendment zeal to buffoonish extremes, but she typifies the childish proclivity of conservatives who are desperate for people to see them shooting things. The climax of a campaign ad that Rep. Ken Buck released last year, when he still doubled as the chairman of the Colorado GOP, shows the congressman firing a semi automatic rifle at a target. They must have had a discount at the $2 word store.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like he's desperately reaching to sound smart and make people feel dumb.
This sounds like the papers I wrote in like my first year of college. It's like I'm under the word limit. Let me open a thesaurus. Is Yeah. As silly as these leaders may make themselves look, the message they send is dangerous. When elected officials extol instruments of death, they reinforce strains of violence in the country's political culture and encourage lethal aggression. It's easy for most Americans when they see gun cosplay from their leaders to laugh it off as the antics of children.
Gun cosplay.
Gun cosplay. That sounds fun.
That does sound fun. I'm totally gonna do some gun cosplay now.
Yeah, I think I could pull off a Solid Snake. You could, you know, it's a gun cosplay.
Elmer Fudd. I can do Elmer Fudd.
We have to get you the hat.
There we go.
Oh, I've got a double hammer here for you. Perfect.
Oh,
It's a FN 16 gauge. So next up, this is from your neck of the woods. This is from the Seattle Journalism Lizards.
I don't associate myself with those people.
Well, it's from your state, and so you're gonna listen. If I have to take the rap for Miami, you're gonna have to take Seattle.
I guess I'll take it then. Because
you gotta ban gun.
You gotta ban guns, and that's Sideshow Bob's whole thing. I hate that guy.
Sideshow Bob being your attorney general, right?
Yeah, Bob Ferguson. Sideshow Bob Ferguson.
Right. And so this whole article is talking about, the large magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, the blah, the blue. And the best part of this article to me is when Bob Ferguson, comments, I just don't understand when people say, well, that's not going to really get all the gun violence. Of course it's not, said Washington State Attorney General Bob Ferguson. But it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel if we can't even get bills like these across the finish line in Olympia. So it's like you want to see the end of gun violence, and you're frustrated that people are not ecstatic to push laws that are demonstrably ineffectual and that lock innocent people in cages for no reason.
Yep. This guy's been just a terrible representative for the people of Washington. We had a law that was passed, and we voted it down, but they said that our vote wasn't right. So, and he's like, I'm gonna help represent you, but not really, because I agree with this law. So yeah, he's we just need a new Washington.
Well, you can always tell though when an article is well researched and logical and good, right? And that's when the artist puts his name on it. And Mr. Seattle Times editorial board is a, I'm sure stand up in his community. Um, that I'm sorry, but that shit really pisses me off.
Yeah. Well,
That's
it's like I'm like, all right, who's all involved in this article? And they had like 5 or 6 names on it at the end. It's like, well, so who actually wrote it, and then who signed off on it? Which is just,
whose ideas are these,
yeah.
right? Or was this communicated up from the beehive? And it really underlines the uh, contradictions and the logical inconsistencies that you see in this type of stuff. Speaking of which, what's the state that, according to Giffords and all them, has the best gun laws ever?
Is it New York or is it California or is it
California, the Golden State. All right.
with the most? Aren't they like the highest deaths too?
I wouldn't worry about that. But listen, everybody's got to follow all these rules. Everybody's got and I'm working on an episode on Fudbusters. We cover state laws and we go state by state. And I'm on California and I've been working on it 2 weeks. It is so dense. When I finished the first section, the script was longer than the entire script for Alabama and Arkansas. Everybody has to follow this incredibly complex system of rules just to have the privilege of possessing a gun at all, except, of course, we've got reasonable common sense exceptions here, right? People in the entertainment industry, right? These people who really need guns, entertainers, musicians, right? They don't need to be doing background checks. They can't do that. So they're exempted with their special permits. And you got to understand, that makes sense, right?
And aren't these the same people shooting people on their sets?
I wouldn't worry about that. I think that the important thing here is that poor people, right, not be allowed to do anything. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Sit in your house and wait to be told to do something, like go to work and pay half your paycheck towards taxes.
Right.
And then
it's important
barely be able to feed your family
because we need roads. You understand? So that's the model of California's gun system, and you know what? It's working fantastically for them. Underprivileged people are violently victimized constantly and then punished by their abusive and evil criminal justice system for daring to have the audacity to defend themselves without first paying their many, many hundreds of dollars to acquire any means to do so. Except, of course, we have the people who are more equal, right, than everyone else. And this article was really fascinating to me. It is called LA's Arms Race of the Affluent. And we have here, interestingly, that's an Interarms import Walther PP in 32 ACP, a really beautiful gun. But I kind of doubt anyone in LA would be buying a used Walther PP. So I kind of think this is a little inappropriate, right?
Just a little.
Yeah, it's a little, it's not acceptable. So there's one gun store in Beverly Hills.
Only one, really?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
And well, then the name says it all. Beverly Hills Guns.
True.
It's a concierge service by appointment only for an affluent clientele. And let me tell you, business is booming. They are like slammed because all of these good, important people, well, they saw their neighbors' houses getting broken into. And so what are they going to do?
Got to protect yourself, right?
You got to protect yourself.
But only if you're rich.
Yes, because somehow I don't think if you're somebody who's starving, or well, I mean, starvation isn't really a real thing in the United States, but who's doing very poorly, I don't think that you have the money to make an appointment at Beverly Hills Guns concierge, caviar service gun shop.
I kind of want to try and make an appointment. Like, if I ever go down to California again, I'm gonna try and make an appointment. Be like,
I've never been.
I've got to I've got to check this out. I'm affluent in Washington, and this is Beverly Hills. This is where you get your guns, right?
Well, a security expert is explaining that Beverly Hills is definitely a target. All right. He's the CEO of Omega International Group and a former Marine who previously worked security in the Clinton White House and the Pentagon. So this guy is really, a top dog. He's telling his clients, hey, don't go out with flashy jewelry. Try to keep a lower profile. Instead of driving the Bentley, maybe just take the black SUV. Makes sense. This is like, this article reads like flavor text from like a cyberpunk game, uh right, like this is like dystopian horror future stuff where who are the actual victims of these crimes here, right? It's mostly the poor people and people with mega mansions who are, and it says here that uh these same people are asking this gun shop whether or not they can set up a series of drone defense like things.
Oh, that'd be
Uh,
so sweet. Drones with guns.
yes,
Another
that would be
expensive
sweet, but the
hobby.
FAA took it from us.
Damn.
It's yeah. The $650,000 Mercedes-Benz S680 Guard can repel assault rifle rounds and the detonation of hand grenades.
I want to know where we're getting hand grenades from. Like, hook me up.
Sweden.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, if you ever, if any of you guys are ever in like looking for a good read, one of my favorite pieces of literature is the Wikipedia article of list of hand grenade attacks in Sweden. Check that out. There's a lot of scrolling to be done. Uh, apparently, at some point, somebody got 2 shipping containers of hand grenades and dropped them in Sweden and just began selling them. And in 2017, you could acquire the hand grenade for about 80% of the price of an ice cream cone.
Oh my goodness.
And so they're just everywhere. But yeah, check that out. List of grenade attacks in Sweden. This, whenever people tell us that we need to behave more like Scandinavian countries, just look up your list of hand grenade attacks
I
in Sweden.
This is a Joe Biden approved article here too. The simplest security option for many will always be a $350 shotgun.
Oh yeah, that. Oh man, I forgot about that. Yeah, where he's
Oh
like,
my goodness, as available to the average citizen as to the very rich.
and he talks about how he sold like what 100 in a day or 20 or something in a day, um, and that ticks me off, right? Because all right, so if you were working a gun shop counter and so one of your clients that you actually care about said, "I want a home defense shotgun," what would you say?
I would say, have you actually shot one before? I have this whole spiel for anyone that comes in as a first time shooter. When I work the counter, it would be, hey, oh, you're interested in a firearm? Okay, this is your first one. Here's a recommendation. Here's my recommendations of some guns to try and shoot. That way, you find what you're comfortable, accurate, and capable with. Because if I sell you this and it doesn't work for you, it might as well just be a glorified hammer, or it's going to get used against you. Like I hate when people generalize it. It's like the FUD guys behind the counters that are like, you need a 357 Magnum and you'll be just fine there, Granny.
Or an 870.
Or an 870
Yeah.
or 32 cal. Is it 32 cal, the very little baby bullet?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you like no, like go out, find what you're comfortable with, go shoot with something proper. Get go do a range class, and I would recommend a couple different classes. And generally, those same people that went out that I turned them away from buying a gun that day, they came back and they came to me for several guns afterwards because I gave them the right idea.
I usually recommend to people who are in this position, if they come to me saying, "What's the best home defense shotgun?" I always say, "Get one without a front sight bead or a vent rib. That way, it hurts less when he shoves it up your ass." Uh, so because you're gonna short stroke it when you're freaking out, and it's gonna lock up, and you're not gonna know what to do. So I always say, look, if you're new to guns or whatever, you want an AK or an AR pistol because it's controllable and just really hard to mess up.
Yeah,
You know,
I still follow that up with take a class too with it,
right?
or go out with somebody that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's you're comfortable teaching you because like I've had people where they're there with their husband. I'm like, do you listen to your husband when he tells you how to do this? Might not be the best person to go out with,
Right.
and it generally works out pretty good that way.
No, I mean that is a great philosophy, but you know, a lot of people are not going to. Uh, they're not going to do that. They
Nope.
just want to buy it, right?
Sell me the tactical shotgun, please.
Yeah. What
All
the
right, sold.
shockwave?
Have a good one. Enjoy your shoddy.
Yeah, enjoy your short stroke machine. Those Mossbergs with the magazine.
Oh
Nightmare Zone.
yeah,
I stopped selling KSGs.
really.
People. Oh
I
no, the KS7s.
oh, okay. I was like I like the KSGs. I really do.
I love Keltex. You have to like the KS7 is so particular about being, cycled that I just cannot I cannot in good faith put that in anyone's hand.
Yeah.
Right. Like, with a normal shotgun, you want to smash it back and smash it forward, right? Like all the
Yeah.
way, all the way to stop, all the way to stop. The KS7, if you do that, or at least the like three that I've shot, when you smash it all the way back, it'll drop the loaded round out of the
Oh no.
thing, and then you go forward, and you have an empty chamber.
Up, too open, too open, too open.
Yeah, my girlfriend was shooting it awesome because she was right,
Yep.
like,
He's
and it
going off
ran
the
every
fill.
time.
Yeah.
Yep. Ran every time. But anyway, yeah, I hate shotguns except the Browning A5. Moving on, Canada. Let me ask you something. There's, let's say there's 100 some odd thousand guns in Canada. These are nice people, very polite.
Very polite.
The government asked them nicely to please hand them over. How many guns do you reckon got handed over out of 100 some thousand?
Well, Canadians obey the government, right? So everyone handed over all their guns, right?
Everybody handed over all of the guns, 160 guns.
Perfect, because that's exactly how many should not have been handed over.
Right.
So it's not often that I go applauding Canadians on
Right.
Their God-given rights to protect themselves. So like, please do fight back on that. Please fight hard.
I mean, I'm proud of our cold hat. Only 160 firearms that the Liberal government prohibited more than a year and a half ago have been deactivated or surrenders, according to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Are they going to go door to door with their horses? Like, all right, we need your horse to kick open the door.
This is so silly. But I'm super proud of them.
Yep.
And also, it's a big country with not that many people in it. So, like, what are they going to do about all the people who live on many, many, many acres of snow? What happened to your gun? Huh?
They're going to kick down their igloo and roll in.
Right, but it might be buried in another igloo,
Yep.
or be hidden in a moose somewhere.
moose has the right to bear arms. So you got a moose with bear arms, right?
I have the right to moose arm security. Uh, anyway, last story for today. There is there's a Rhode Island and a Connecticut politic lizard, and they've been sitting down with the credit card lizards. Simple proposal. Make it so people can't buy the ghost gun on the credit card. Genius.
I'm just curious how they're gonna make that happen because all you say is a dollar amount when you put in a purchase, correct?
Well, no, but they're going to just, what they would do is pull service from people identified, on the bad list.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll
So
buy
the treasurer of Rhode Island is pressing MasterCard to restrict sales of untraceable firearms known as ghost guns. And I'm glad that they're doing this with MasterCard because this is clearly a calculated attempt to further shove MasterCard into obscurity because who the hell is using MasterCard anymore?
my debit card. That's about all I can think of. Like credit cards
Well, it's
are all
fairly
Visa,
rare.
right?
Oh, well, most of them.
Yeah.
It's fairly rare. What are you with a credit union?
Yeah, I'm with a credit union.
That's why.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and it's like, all right, if go ahead, ban even using debit cards and whatnot. You know what I'll do? I'll buy it with some Bitcoin. Better yet, some Dogecoin. Just to laugh at you. The joking dog. The joke's on you, Governor.
Yeah. This is ridiculous. Yeah, this person, by the way, their name is Magaziner, which is interesting. They they frequently use the influence of the state's $10.3 billion pension fund to compel companies to adopt more responsible corporate practices on climate change, workers' rights, corporate diversity, and other key issues such as ghost guns. So this is one of those things that's being done with like a shareholder proposal, right? They acquire, which is so messed up, right?
It's
that you would use the
blackmail.
pension fund
It's
to
blackmail.
acquire a company. Yeah, acquire like an interest in a company and say, hey, you better do this or I'm going to dump my shares. Yeah, right?
Dump them. I'll buy them. There you go. Like that's straight up blackmail, is it not? Is that not that's blackmail, or what's the other word?
No, it couldn't be it couldn't be that because it's the government doing it.
Oh, what's there's another messing with the market by threatening that inside trading. Isn't that kind of that too?
Well, this is a step before insider trading.
Yeah, so
Insider trading would be if they then acted upon this information, like if if they knew that the deal wasn't going through and this was going to happen, and then you short,
so
the company.
It's just blackmail. That's all. It's
well, no, it's the government. They,
so
it's
White
just
House mail.
It's just regular business. It's just stuff, right? They're just representing us, trying to look out for you.
Not representing me, that's for sure.
No, I mean it's going to help you out in Washington if Rhode Island manages to make it so an international company will make their credit card less useful.
Yep.
That's for you.
Know who not to spend my money with.
Well, we don't know if they're taking it or not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like what Kroger for years was harassed for not allowing open carry, like
right.
So, and I think they finally changed their opinion of. They just got tired of getting harassed, I think is what it came down to.
Well, I'm going to read some of this article. And look, ghost guns are one of the fastest growing gun safety threats that our state faces. Okay. This being the great and powerful microscopic state of Rhode Island. And we must do everything we can to immediately address it. Companies like MasterCard have the responsibility to limit the harm that results from purchases made using their services, especially when individuals with dangerous histories can use them to acquire these do-it-yourself, untraceable weapons with no background check and no questions asked. Listen, we are pleased to see Treasurer Magaziner stand with gun safety across our state and file this important request to protect our communities. And that child was Albert Einstein. Just kidding. That was Jen Boylan, volunteer of the Rhode Island chapter of Moms Demand Action. So they've sent their best to
Moms Demand Action.
Volunteer.
It's like, how did I know that name was going to come up? It's the moms.
What, like, oh, I've met this guy, Adam. Yeah, anyway, they've got this, what is this print rag? What is this lizard print? Yeah, Newport Buzz. They've got a quote from every single one of the bad organizations. Director of shareholder advocacy at Mercy Investment Services, another company that destroys privately held companies for literally no reason. Then we got Jen Boylan, the volunteer, Adam Skaggs, chief counsel and policy director at Giffords, Nick Suplina, senior vice president of Everytown, and Sydney Wardell, executive director of the Rhode Island Police Chiefs Association, who says that these guns are highly dangerous and illegal as they bypass the safety measures in place to safeguard the public. Of course, they're not illegal, but whatever. And I love the invocation of common sense measures, right? Like, it's such a ridiculous dog whistle. It's so Orwellian. Like, how can they need to think of something else to say? Like, whenever I read common sense, I immediately, like, I can hear the high-pitched whistle in my ear.
Yeah, anytime I hear common sense nowadays, it's just like, so what you're saying is a lie. Because it's not common sense. It's
right.
The common sense would to, upheld your rights and everybody else's.
You know what company does follow common sense, though?
Patriot Patch?
That's right. Patriot Patch and Metal Sign and Patchwall Company. They are very cool. Let's see what's on Patch of the Month. Okay, that's sick. I haven't gotten that in the mail yet.
Nope, I've not yet. I've been keeping my eye out for it. I'm loving it. You ain't Yeti for this yet, right?
It is a Yeti on a snowboard with a 1911A1 and a some kind of tactical helmet. This is hilarious. Anyway, as you guys know, we have a discount with these guys. Twig 10. You can get a discount on your orders. You can join the Patch of the Month Club, and every month you will get a new, very interesting patch. And it's always nice to see them come in. I have my little patch wall here, which is magnetic. You can put it on your fridge, your toolbox, or whatever. They are a good company. They are really cool guys, and they support the show. So check them out and use coupon code TWIG10.
An alternative spot for your patches, Matt, is if you're a car guy, stick them on the roof of your
headliner.
Yep, my Forerunner, covered in patches, and a good chunk of them are Patriot Patch. I've actually got a couple here from some themed ones they had releases. There's like a Jurassic Park one. I've got a Bigfoot on the back of Bigfoot. I'm shooting.
I've got this Ghostbusters one, the pizza.
There we go. Bigfoot rocking it. So.
And when you're in the Patch of the Month Club, they send you the concept art for the patch too, which is pretty cool. This one's fun. Christmas Story.
Oh yeah. There's some concept art.
Yeah. Very cool company, very cool guys. Support them. They support us. And thank you all, our dearest listeners, for supporting us the most. We will see you next week. Have a good one.